Welcome to Japal Sartre. In this lesson, we will just simply talk about Japal Sartre and her female friend Simone de Beauvoir. And then we will talk about his literature and the allegations of sexual abuse by Japal Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir. Japal Sartre was born on 21 June 1905 and he died on 15 April 1980 at the age of 74 in France. Japal Sartre was a French philosopher, playwright, novelist, screenwriter, political activist, biographer, and literary critic. He is considered a leading figure in 20th century French philosophy and Marxism. Sartre was one of the key figures in the philosophy of existentialism and phenomenology. His work has influenced sociology, critical theory, post-colonial theory, and literary studies. He was awarded the 1964 Nobel Prize in Literature despite attempting to refuse it, saying that he always declined official honors and that a writer should not allow himself to be turned into an institution. Sartre held an open relationship with prominent feminist and fellow existentialist philosopher Simone de Beauvoir. Together, Sartre and de Beauvoir challenged the cultural and social assumptions and expectations of their upbringings, which they considered bourgeois in both lifestyles and thought. The conflict between oppressive, spiritually destructive conformity, literally bad faith, and an authentic way of being became the dominant theme of Sartre's early work, a theme embodied in his principal philosophical work, Being and Nothingness, published in 1943. Sartre's introduction to his philosophy in his work Existentialism is a Humanism, published in 1946, originally presented as a lecture. So that's simply about the life of Simone de Beauvoir and Jean-Paul Sartre. Now we will talk about his death and later life. In 1964, Sartre renounced literature in a witty and sardonic account of the first 10 years of his life, The Words. The book is an ironic counterblast to Marcel Proust, whose reputation had unexpectedly eclipsed that of André Gide, who had provided the model of literature engagé for Sartre's generation. Literature, Sartre concluded, functioned ultimately as a bourgeois substitute for real commitment in the world. In October 1964, Sartre was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature, but he declined it. He was the first Nobel laureate to voluntarily decline the prize and remains one of only two laureates to do so. According to Lark Gillenstein in his book Minen, Memories, Only Memories, published in 2000, Sartre himself or someone close to him got in touch with the Swedish Academy in 1975 with a request for the prize money but was refused. In 1945, he had refused the Legion d'Honneur. The Nobel Prize was announced on 22 October 1964, and on 14 October, Sartre had written a letter to the Nobel Institute asking to be removed from the list of the nominees and warning that he would not accept the prize if awarded, but the letter went unread. On 23 October, La Figaro published a statement by Sartre explaining his refusal. He said he did not wish to be transformed by such an award and did not want to take sides in an East versus West cultural struggle by accepting an award from a prominent Western cultural institutions. Nevertheless, he was that year's prize winner. Though his name was then a household word, as was existentialism during the tumultuous 1960s, Sartre remained a simple man with few possessions, actively committed to causes until the end of his life, such as the May 1968 strikes in Paris during the summer of 1968, during which he was arrested for civil disobedience. President Charles de Gaulle intervened and pardoned him, commenting that you don't arrest Voltaire. In 1975, when asked how he would like to be remembered, Sartre replied, I would like people to remember nausea, my plays, no exit, and the devil and the good Lord. And then my two philosophical works, more particularly the second one, Critique of Dialectical Reason, then my essay on Janet, Saint Janet. If these are remembered, that would be quite an achievement, and I don't ask for more. As a man, if a certain Jean-Paul Sartre is remembered, I would like people to remember the milieu of historical situation in which I lived, how I lived in it, in terms of all the aspirations which I tried to gather up within myself. Sartre's physical condition deteriorated partially because of the merciless pace of work and the use of amphetamine he put himself through during the writing of the critic and a massive analytical biography of Gustav Flaubert, the family idiot, both of which remained unfinished. He had hypertension and became completely blind in 1973. Sartre was a notorious chain smoker, which could also have contributed to the deterioration of his health. Sartre died on 15 April 1980 at the age of 74 in Paris from pulmonary edema. He had not wanted to be buried at Pere Lachaise cemetery between his mother and stepfather, so it was arranged that he be buried at Montparnasse cemetery. At his funeral on Saturday, 19 April, 50,000 Parisians descended onto Boulevard de Montparnasse to accompany Sartre's cortege. The funeral started at the hospital at 2 p.m., then fled through the 14th arrondissement, passed all Sartre's homes, and entered the cemetery through the gate of the Boulevard Edgar Quinet. Sartre was initially buried in a temporary grave to the left of the cemetery gate. 4 days later, the body was disinterred for cremation at Père Lachaise Cemetery, and his ashes were reburied at the permanent site in Montparnasse Cemetery to the right of the cemetery gate. So that's all about the later life, illness, and death of Jean-Paul Sartre. Now we will talk about his literature. Sartre wrote successfully in a number of literary modes and made major contributions to literary criticism and literary biography. His plays are richly symbolic and served as a means of conveying his philosophy. The best known, which closed, that means no exit, contains the famous line, L'enfer c'est les autres, usually translated as hell is other people. Aside from the impact of nausea, Sartre's major work of fiction was the Roads to Freedom trilogy, which charts the progression of how World War II affected Sartre's ideas. In his way, Roads to Freedom presents a less theoretical and more practical approach to existentialism. John Houston got Sartre to script his film Freud, The Secret Passion. However, it was too long, and Sartre withdrew his name from the film's credits. Nevertheless, many key elements from Sartre's script survived in the finished film. Despite their similarities as polemicists, novelists, adapters, and playwrights, Sartre's literary work has been counterposed, often pejoratively, to that of Albert Camus in the popular imagination. In 1948, the Roman Catholic Church placed Sartre's Beauvoir on the Index Limorium Prohibitorium list of prohibited books. Now let's talk about the allegations of sexual abuse by uh, against Jean-Paul Sartre and his female friend or partner Simone de Beauvoir. In 1993, French author Bianca Lamblin, originally Bianca Bienfeld, wrote in her book Memoirs, the June Dajun June Fili the Argni, that means Memoirs of a Deranged Girl, published in English under the title A Disgraceful Affair of Her Sexual Exploitation by Sartre and Beauvoir. Lamblin claimed that while a student at Lycée Molière, she was sexually exploited by her teacher Beauvoir, who introduced her to Sartre a year later. Bianca wrote her memoirs in response to the posthumous 1990 publication of Jean-Paul Sartre's Letters au Castor et à Quiles Postres from 1926 to 1963, Letters to Castor and Other Friends, in which she noted that she was referred to by the pseudonym Louis Vendrine. Sartre and Beauvoir frequently followed this pattern, in which Beauvoir would seduce female students and then pass them on to Sartre. So that's all simply about the debatable life, about the arguable life, about the conflictual life of Japal Sartre, his literature, and the allegations brought against him by one of his students. But still, Japal Chhatre remains one of the most prominent figures in 20th century, not only in French philosophy but also in the philosophy pervading across the world. And he is still remembered because he is the only one person who declined the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1964. Besides, he was also a prisoner of war during the Second World War by the Nazi Germany. And today we pay homage to this great philosopher, and his philosophy named existentialism or existence precedes essence is very famous across the world in philosophy and in literature. Lastly, what I'd like to say is that he is not only a philosopher, he is a literary figure, and he is also a psychologist, and he is also a psychiatrist. In the books of psychiatry, in the books of psychology, Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir are equally discussed and debated. And lastly, I would like to request you all who want to know more about educational videos or entertaining videos, you can browse all other videos. There are many videos on in my channel. I think these videos will help you to have some glimpse of knowledge about various types of authors, writers, and great political persons. And lastly, I'd like to request all of you to peruse books, to study books, because books are complete. Human beings are not complete. Only simple lecture in YouTube or Facebook is not enough to gather complete knowledge over life, over the world. But if you read a book, this book will help you go a lot way to be a good person, to be a dutiful person, to be a careful person in the society. So, welcoming you all to read books. I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you, bye bye, for your patient hearing to this video and all other videos in this channel. And Japal Chhatre is mostly known and noted and famous for his well known philosophical theory, existentialism is humanism, or existence precedes essence. So thank you very much, and read books, have a sound sleep from 7 to 9 hours, have good physical exercise, have nutritious food to be healthy, and thank you very much.